Hello and welcome. My name is Benoit Poliquin. I'm the founder and one of the portfolio managers here at Exponent Investment Management. And you're watching the third quarter 2025 review. So let's get started with our usual performance table. What you see here are the stock indices we tend to track. So Canada, the US, the technology index, the NASDAQ, Europe, and emerging markets, as well as a few commodities. So let's get started and zoom in. Before we do that, you can look at the 3-year numbers. And if you subscribe to the idea that equity markets over a 10 or 15-year periods tend to historically have returned anywhere, depending on which 10 or 15-year period you're looking at, anywhere between 6 to 10%. And we're well above that trend line over a 3-year period. So you really, as an investor, should expect some sort of give back at some point. Will it be violent or just a flat line? It remains to be seen. But that's something to keep in the back of your mind. Over the past 3 years, Canadian currency really hasn't moved that much versus the US dollar. And bond indexes sort of returned 4.7% a year. Oil prices really have had a tough time, and gold has been a stellar performer in the past 3 years, really turning it on in the past 12 months, if you will. So if we focus in on the 1-year number, Canada had a great 1-year performance, up 28%, outpacing the S&P 500 and the tech-heavy NASDAQ. As we go down the line in terms of Europe and emerging markets, still for the past 12 months, strong performance. U.S. currency appreciating a little bit, around 3% over the past 12 months, which is a lot, really, when you think about it from a currency perspective. Most of that coming on in this past quarter. So the Canadian currency fading in the third quarter of 2025. Outside of that, the oil prices had a really tough quarter, down 15% for the year, down 25% for the quarter, and basically consistently losing 10% of its value, the oil price per barrel, about 10% a year for the past 3 years. Now, the big performer for the quarter was gold, and for the year, up nearly 55% is the oil price, the gold price. Interest rates still quite low. If you lend money to the Canadian government on a 1-year basis, you're going to get about 2.4%, 2.75% if you want to lend for 5 years. And if you're willing to part with your money for 10 years, the government of Canada will pay you 3.21%. 5-year GICs tend to be about 1% higher than the government of Canada bonds. So 3.8% and 3.5% for the 1 year. So what are the key takeaways for the quarter? Well, we really focused on risk management, trimming overweight positions. So if they were north of, getting close to 5%, even north of 5%, we would take away or sell, especially towards the last quarter, just kind of bring them back in line towards, say, a 2 or 3% weight. Many of the stocks might have had defined prices or sell levels, and a lot of those got triggered, a few got triggered towards late in the quarter. And as of the time of recording, more are getting triggered. And holding back and slowing capital, we've been very fortunate with getting quite a few new clients over the summer months. And so towards the latter part of the quarter, we were probably slower than usual in capital deployment, meaning putting the money to work into the stock market. The themes for 2025 still remain the same: reindustrialization of the US versus both the old economy and new economy. The valuation discount with Canada and Europe versus the US is still present, but probably not as glaring as it was, say, 12 months ago. But a European software company still trades at a 30-40% discount versus its US counterpart. And then we're obviously thinking about low probability, high impact event. The main one is really a spike in interest rates or a currency devaluation, which is kind of the same thing, but just in a different, showing up in a different way. And so we are worrying about this kind of stuff and trying to think about the impact on portfolios. They are low probability, but they would have a high impact. This concludes our quick summary of the events and performance of the quarter. You can stay on either in another video to look at the charts for those of you that want to get further into the narrative and the events of the past quarter. We have a video for you. So thank you for watching. If you have any questions or comments, you can always drop us a line at this email address. Thank you.